Please introduce yourself and tell us a few words about yourself and your experience.
Sure. I'm Micah Baldwin, CEO of Graphically. Graphically is the sixth company that I've started or been an early employee at. Over those six companies, have raised a little over $300 million and had about 4 exits totaling a little over $200 million. I am a mentor at Techstars and 500 and love working with startups. I have 2 dogs and 3 cats.
Micah, what verticals are you interested in generally as a mentor and advisor?
I spend a lot of my time thinking about digital media, entertainment, things that are focused around community and ways that community can drive commerce and other types of business.
And how many startup companies you work with regularly?
So as a mentor at Techstars and at 500, there are dozens that I've helped and work with, some more regularly than others, but I work with about 10 to 12 in a formal setting.
Thank you. Micah, you have a huge experience in online publishing. Forbes called you the expert in the new art of storytelling. What can you tell us about the current situation and future trends in digital publishing and blogging globally? Why does storytelling really matter? And how does one build influence online successfully?
Sure. So digital publishing is in a really unique space right now. It started with long-form blogs where people are writing pages and pages, and things like WordPress were and are very big. I think WordPress powers 22% of all the websites on the web. Twitter then became very big, and the idea of being able to do what they call microblogging became big, and Twitter has hundreds and millions of users. And now there's sort of this movement towards the middle where most of the new writing is short, and it's somewhere between a tweet and somewhere between a gigantic long blog post, but it sort of sits in the middle. In terms of which would be blogging, the other thing that's becoming really interesting is that people are starting to look at the aggregation of all types of forms of content and realizing that in and of itself, that aggregation is the new form of a book. So no longer is it 300 pages of pure written, it's a band going on tour and taking YouTube videos and Instagram photos and tweets, and maybe they write a little bit more and interviews and putting that together into something that is the new form of a book. And you're seeing Apple and Amazon really sort of embrace this concept and creating books in a completely new way that are nothing that we've ever seen before. And I think that what we'll see in digital publishing is a greater level of creativity. To the question around storytelling, the belief is in my mind, is that everybody is a storyteller and that we tell stories in unique ways. And now with things again like Twitter and Instagram and whatnot, we tell stories differently than our parents did and our grandparents did. Our stories are being told through photos. Snapchat is a great example of stories being told through pictures. And as that continues to grow and as the young people get to be a little bit older, our stories are going to become fantastic and hopefully easily accessible, which is really what we focus on graphically and what I believe a lot in. In terms of how to gain influence online, it's really simple. It's be honest and truthful and open and vulnerable and be real. And the more real you are, the more that people like to hear what you have to say and trust what you have to say. And that's really all influence is at the end of the day, right? Is creating a trust relationship between you and your readership and doing it in a way that is extremely honest.
Okay. Micah, so how does Graphically fit around your belief in storytelling?
So we started Graphically with the idea that great stories need to be seen. And we believe strongly that everybody has a story inside of them and that they need to get it out there in the world. And so we built Graphically to do 3 things. One is to help publishers and authors take their content and put it on a Kindle or iBooks, which turns out to be extremely difficult. For example, on the Nook, if you want to do a children's book, there are 3 different file formats to do a children's book on the Nook. There are dozens across Kindle and iBooks and the rest. So we just make it very simple for people to take stuff that they've already written and then make it digital and put it on a tablet. Secondarily is distribution, helping people get their book out in front of as many people as possible. So if a great story needs to be seen, then it needs to be easily distributed all over the place. The stories need to change. They need to be able to have interactive elements, and they need to act more like apps, so we allow for that. And then thirdly, we need to help people understand how to promote their content and be able to do it effectively. And so we have a complete suite of tools that allow authors and publishers to promote their work as simply as people promote videos on YouTube or tweets or anything else, and doing it in a way that is truly about building community around the content that they're writing and creating. So for graphically, our belief stays the same. Great stories need to be seen. Authors need a set of tools that are simple and easy and inexpensive, and that's what we provide.
Thank you. Micah, one of your workshops is totally dedicated to the characteristics of a good CEO. So what does a good CEO look?
How does a good CEO look? A good CEO is happy. And I think that it's an easy word to throw around, and it's a hard word to achieve. And a good CEO is one that understands that the people that work with him or her on a project also need to be happy. And so they create an environment that allows people to work effectively and work and be productive. And while they're doing all the productivity, is that they feel good and happy and that they're able to be fulfilled. Most CEOs get tied up very much in the way the external world looks at them. And a great CEO is one that realizes that it doesn't matter about media and PR and what their name is and how many followers they have. But a great CEO understands that true success is when the people that work for them share in that success and grow forward. So they just put their head down and as we say, bust ass.
Thank you. And could you name 3 things a good CEO should never do?
Should never do. A good CEO should never do all the work. They should trust the people that work with them to do the work. A good CEO, a great CEO actually doesn't do a whole lot. They don't code, and they don't design, and they don't run product, and they don't do PR. A great CEO enables everybody around them to do that. A great CEO does not, it's a good question. A great CEO does not spend all of their time away from the office. They don't go to conferences, they don't go to trips, they don't fly all over the place all the time. It's very, very infrequently that they aren't available to the people that they work with. And a great CEO does not, these are good. A great CEO also does not stand alone. A great CEO understands that for them to be successful, they have to engage people around them. So they not only constantly are looking for support and help internally from the organization, but also externally. They find great mentors, they find great colleagues, and they find great friends to hang out with, but they expand their sphere of influence beyond just the company that they're working in.
Thank you. And Micah, are you a good CEO?
Am I a good CEO?
Yeah.
I would say I'm a good CEO, not a great CEO, and I have a lot to learn, but I think that I'm doing a lot better every day.
Micah, what are the most serious problems that startups face on their way to success, and how can they solve or maybe even avoid them?
So the biggest problem that a startup faces is running out of money. You can't run a business when you have no money, and so often they don't understand and manage that money appropriately. So more than anything, founders need to understand the cost of running the business, what they need to have in order to achieve that business, and then they make sure that there's money in the bank. I also think that startups often don't think big enough. Most ideas tend to be much smaller than they could be, and they spend a lot of effort building a small business. It's just as much work to build a small business as it is to build a big business, and so you might as well be working on a big business. I also think that most startups forget to look locally. They always are thinking about, I want to take this to the world, when the truth is that they may have a totally viable big business that they can start in their own backyards. And so sometimes we need to be less head in the clouds and a little bit more focused on what's going on around us and what we can accomplish. And I think for most startups, if they keep money in the bank, they stay focused, and they think big, there's a greater opportunity for success.
On your blog, learntodag.com, you cover success through failure. So what is the core of this philosophy, success through failure?
So success through failure is pretty simple. Most successful people have failed more often than they've succeeded. So the question is how do you create failures that you can learn from and you can grow from and that move you towards success? I would say that graphically we have had more failures than we have had successes. And by learning from our successes and keeping them measured and understanding what they brought us, our successes were much larger than those failures. The truth is that failure is bad. What you do after failure is what matters. And so success is driven by your reactions to failing. So the whole philosophy is failure is a process that leads you towards success.
Thank you. Micah, please give some useful tips to startups.
Useful tips for startups. CEO has 3 jobs. They need to keep money in the bank, they need to articulate their vision, and they need to recruit awesome people. Another tip for a startup is focus. You can never be more focused you can always be more focused than you think you can be. So the more and more you can focus, the better off you are. Another tip for a startup is a great startup does one thing well. Find that one thing and focus on it. Never confuse activity for achievement. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it means just because you're busy doesn't mean you're actually doing work. Another good tip for a startup is to remember that you are an artist at the end of the day. You are creating something that nobody else can do, and that not everybody can be a creator and a maker, and it's something beautiful and exciting, and you should enjoy every minute of it.
Thank you. Micah, this is your first trip to Ukraine. How do you like it, and what can you say about the startups here at Happy Farm, and any other impressions you want to share?
Sure. Ukraine's interesting. My grandmother and grandfather are both from Eastern Europe, so it kind of reminds me of them and the food that they made. I find it interesting that there's sour cream on everything, and that you cook lard as dessert sometimes. I think that's sort of interesting. But I've enjoyed it. I think it's a unique country that really is looking to grow, and they look at technology and startups as a great way to expand. There's a lot of entrepreneurship here. I think the startups at Happy Farm are no different than the startups that I've seen anywhere else in the world, or at Techstars or Y Combinator or 500. Their English is a little worse, but beyond that, I think they're basically the same. And other impressions is that I think that another impression that I have of Happy Farm is that much like other accelerators, the staff here cares a lot, and caring drives accelerators drives them much further than people believe. And I think the fact that everybody here really is putting their all into making this accelerator the best they can be, you can see it in the successes of the the teams and the companies and the effort that they put in. It's expected that you see a startup work from all morning through all night, and it's fantastic when you see them actually enjoy doing it. And most of the startups here at Happy Farm seem to really enjoy putting in the effort, which I think is a testament to the staff.